on there.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, Dolby is in the midst of its annual focal review process. A time when we look back on our performance for the previous year, we celebrate our successes, and we try to find areas on which we want to improve for the coming year. But are we making the best use of this time? In my speech today, I'm going to highlight a couple of areas where I think we all could stand to improve in the following year. And whether you're a manager or an individual contributor, I have some advice for each of you on how you can improve the system to everyone's benefit. Specifically, I want to talk about feedback, how it's gathered, and how it's delivered. Now, I'm sure we're all sick to death of polls. We've had a lot of polling recently. But indulge me just for a few seconds, please. By show of hands, how many people in the last few weeks have received an email with the subject title something like, Focal Review Feedback Requested for John Smith? Okay, good show of hands. How many people have received 5 or more of these emails? Okay, how many have received 10 or more of these emails? Really, I'm the only one? I got 12 this year. How many of you gave meaningful, well-crafted, thoughtful, in-depth, analytical, comprehensive feedback for each one of those emails that you received? You can be honest here. Oh, Tim, good job, Tim. I didn't. I just had too many to put that much time into it. And how many of you have no idea what I'm talking about, have never seen one of these emails? Very good. So now you're learning something about how feedback reviews work at Dolby. So let's talk about these emails. What are they trying to achieve? On the face of it, they seem like a very good idea. It's a way for managers who haven't had much contact with their employees during the year, a way for them to gather feedback on those employees. Perhaps those employees work on different teams, different projects. Perhaps they're even based in a completely different location. And it's not just me that says that gathering feedback is a good idea. According to one study that I read, 25% of employees in the US get no feedback from their managers. 25%. And that costs the US $350 billion a year in lost productivity. $350 billion a year wasted because some managers don't give feedback to their employees. So yeah, going out and gathering this feedback is a great idea. I don't have any issues with that. But I do have 2 issues with these emails. One is the timing with which they're sent. And secondly, the frequency with which they're sent. Let's talk about timing. How many of you who got these emails sat staring at your inbox full of these things and thought to yourselves, why now? Doesn't it seem like the end of the fiscal year is the very worst time to be going through this exercise? Yes. Don't we have enough to do already? There's already enough of a review process to go through as it is. We're wrapping up financials from the previous year. We're planning budgets and goals and objectives and strategizing for the year ahead. Timing sucks. And to have all these emails to address at the same time just makes no sense. But more importantly for me, more worryingly, is the frequency with which these emails are sent. Once a year. Once a year. What's a manager going to do with this feedback that they get once a year? Sure, if it's positive feedback, then they can say to their employee, you did a great job this year. What if it's not positive? What if there's some behavior that needs to be corrected or a situation that needs to be addressed? What sense does it make to wait perhaps an entire year to deal with that situation, with that behavior? The golden rule of feedback is that it has to be given in a timely fashion. It has to be given frequently. It's not so much vote early, vote often. It's give feedback early, give feedback often. And if you're not convinced, let me give you an example which everyone here will be able to relate to. One of the core concepts of Toastmasters is, of course, the evaluations, right? When do we get those evaluations? Right in the meeting itself. We get spoken evaluations after the speeches. We get written evaluations on the pieces of paper or in the manual. And we get that evaluation right there and then. Would it make sense to get that evaluation 6 months from now? No. A year from now? Definitely not. So feedback has to be given in a timely fashion. And Toastmasters gives you a great example of that. And in fact, it's such an important idea in Toastmasters that the Competent Leadership Manual, which I think everyone has an entire project devoted to it. It's project number 3. So please, I encourage you to read that project about giving feedback. And what about our own managers? How do we make sure that we are getting the feedback that we need in a timely fashion? Go and ask for it. Be proactive. Use one-on-one times with your managers to make sure that you understand what expectations other people have of you and whether or not you're meeting those expectations. If you don't have a one-on-one set up with your manager, set one up today. As soon as you leave this room, go and set one up. It's the most important thing you'll do today. And make sure you're using that time. Let me tell you from my own experience as a manager, that nothing impresses me more than an employee who comes to me and asks for feedback. It shows that they're invested in their own development, that they're willing to grow and to learn. So in summary, I just want to stress again that giving feedback is critical for a manager. It's one of the most important things we do. And that feedback needs to be gathered continuously throughout the year, not just once at the end of the year. But it's not just managers who have to take responsibility here, it's all of us. We all have to be invested in our own futures, in our own growth, in our own development. So go out and find that feedback for yourself. Take the Toastmasters example. Get that feedback today. Set up your one-on-ones. It's the fastest, most direct way to grow and to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Stewart. Please take a minute or two to jot down some feedback for Stewart. Hopefully nothing too surprising for him.